Welcome to Greige Against the Machine, the podcast where we celebrate the extraordinary talent and accomplishments of lesser-known and even unknown artists and creatives. I'm Lisa Catara alongside Justin Harvey, and each week we'll explore the minds and stories of the journeymen and women behind your favorite films, shows, ads, music, and more. Those who craft magic without the red carpet spotlight or public eye, because everyone has a unique story to tell, and sometimes the most inspiring voices are the ones you haven't heard yet. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Greige Against the Machine podcast. I hope I'm doing this right because, as you can see, my co-host is not here today, but I have this amazing guest. I have Chuck McCollum with me today, and I'm about to gloat about him for a couple of minutes while he's on camera and make him feel super uncomfortable because he's awesome. But I think I'm going to do this by actually reading your biography because it's so good.
Okay.
just the first section, and I'll tell you why. All right.
Okay.
Guys, this is what Greige is all about. It's us journeymen, performers, and entertainers in the industry who are not celebrities, but are not nobodies. You know, a lot of us have dozens, if not hundreds of credits, and we've been there where those faces, you're like, oh yeah, you just might not know our names. And we don't live in the Hollywood Hills. So Chuck McCollum quickly realized he was no longer a big fish after leaving high school and has never fully recovered from that harsh reality. Like many tragic figures, he took to the comedic stage and spent much of the 80s appearing in nightclubs, touring rock venues, and making mischief at colleges and universities across the country with comedic groups the Big Mac Theater and the Riot Act, discovering far too late that he really wasn't very funny. He enjoyed some minor successes as a professional screenwriter, but even that didn't afford him the level of rejection he was accustomed to. So he decided to have a go at professional acting. I think that is phenomenal. For one, the humor, it's almost like a Douglas Adams novel if you read Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. You're like my Arthur Dent.
Oh, I take that as a high compliment.
It is. Well, it's one of my favorite authors, but yes, that I love your bio. It's witty. And who says you're not funny? Who told you that?
It's a story I've been telling myself for years.
Why though? You are funny.
Thank you.
You're funny to me. Granted, the roles that you generally do maybe aren't comedy.
No, I don't have a whole lot of that on the resume. That's true. So
there is that.
But you and I make each other laugh a lot. So.
Oh my gosh, all the time. Yeah, all the time. So Chuck and I met, I had joined a theater in Hollywood shortly before, unfortunately, leaving Hollywood, and made all these wonderful friends and all these extraordinary talents, and then left town. But we wound up sitting next to each other at a performance, and literally within 20 seconds of saying hello, had turned toward each other and talked each other's ears off for like an hour and a half.
Yeah.
So my kind of people, for sure. Oh my gosh, Chuck, where do I even begin with you? So you're a California native, right?
I am. Yeah.
Okay, I thought so. And at what point, because I know you started on stage and you did start with comedy and then screenwriting and then casting associate and then acting, if not like going back and forth between the two. But what gets you to Hollywood? What gets you into acting?
Well, I began that with leaving high school. So I'm going to go before that. First of all, I have a family that was very much they were all performers. My father was a child actor and model in New York back in the 20s and 30s.
That is so cool.
We have old faded magazine clippings of, an ad where it's a painting of a child, but it's my dad.
Oh, that's so cool.
It's really something. And he came out to Los Angeles when he was 19 and like in 1937 or 38. And he did a number of little films, all before World War II. That kind of put a halt on everything. But my claim to fame for my father is he had a supporting role in Reefer Madness. And yeah, it's crazy. He plays the leading lady's younger brother. He's the one that gets high in the car and hits an old man while they're driving away.
Very cool.
He's Jimmy. So yeah, so there was that. And then I can't remember how exactly. I think in some kind of corral he met my mother, and she was always singing, and as I understand it, she was playing Padishah in the Mikado while she was still pregnant with me.
Awesome.
So it was
so that was your first appearance on stage.
Yes, absolutely.
There you go.
As far as I know, yeah. And then, when I was 6 years old, my sister, who was 11 years older than me, she was playing Mrs. McAfee in Bye Bye Birdie, which was very popular back in the early 60s. And she recruited me to play her younger son. And I had to sing a solo and all this stuff. So it was like I actually was on stage at 6 years old in front of an audience singing and doing that stuff. So it kind of like got into my blood very
Sure.
early on.
But not necessarily musicals.
Not necessarily, because that I haven't really continued on with that, but that was what I did. And there were lots of musicals. I mean, we had, the cast albums of many, many musicals playing on the turntable when I was a
Did
kid.
you have the old 45s with the little plastic clips
Oh,
in
yeah.
the middle? Oh,
We
I grew
had,
up on
we
those.
had 78. We had 78 RPM records, and some of them
Yeah.
were homemade of the family singing at Christmas time, stuff like
Oh
that.
my gosh.
Yeah. So yeah,
Um,
it was kind of in my blood, as they say, as the cliche goes.
But at some
So,
point you thought, hey, I want to do comedy?
it's funny. It doesn't feel like it was ever really a choice. It was just when I entered high school, there was a wonderful teacher, and they had a summer program where you would come and we would write a musical and put it up. It was like a musical review. We would like take existing songs, either songs from musicals or popular songs that were on the radio, and rewrite the lyrics to fit whatever sketch we
Fun.
did. So it was like putting sketches together. So when I was 14, I started doing this. And we did it before I even entered high school. I was going into the 9th grade. It was the summer before I entered high school. So we did that every summer between school years. And I even did it the summer after I graduated. So we did that. So I had that. It was just something that was really fun to do. And I ended up working with, through a series of personal connections, working with a small company. In the summer of 1976, we went out to Telluride, Colorado, and did some dinner theater. We did like 5 different shows in 6 weeks. And one of those shows was a comedy review where we used some stuff that we had written. We used some other material that was written by Procter and Bergman from the Firesign Theater and that sort of thing. And after we got back to Los Angeles, then we did some educational theater because this guy I was working with had been a teacher. So we were doing some, cultural enrichment programs, and then we auditioned an adaptation we made of the Reeves Tale from the Canterbury Tales for the Renaissance Pleasure Fair. We did that. Nice. So I just ended up just kind of doing a lot of comedy, and in that met these people that were really funny, and we just started writing stupid stuff.
I love that.
Putting it in front of people, and thought, hey, this is kind of fun. Let's do this.
Yeah. You're kind of, to me, like you strike me as an actor or an artist, I should say, who just kind of goes where the river is flowing. And, why not? I want to try. I want to feel what that's like. Let's go.
Yes. I would say that's true. And I would say possibly to a fault at times,
Give me an example of the fault.
Well, the fault being, spending all that time working. I worked with this one group, like I said, that was called the Big Mac Theater. That was 2 other guys, and we had a lot of fun, and we got some very good success early on. We hooked up with a rock band that really liked us and took us on a tour of the Hawaiian Islands, and it was quite cool. And I was like 22 years old. This was very
perfect.
Cool. Yeah, and so with them, and then because we were all quite young, it all kind of blew up within a couple of years. We just really couldn't work together. But I ended up working with these other people that I had met in the meantime, and they were, we were older, and they were actually much more musical inclined. And so we wrote some funny songs, and we would incorporate music, and I played the guitar, and we would use that in our show. And that's where we took across the country with doing colleges and universities. But I think there was a part of me that wanted to be kind of out on my own as an actor, but it was so much safer being with people,
Yeah.
and at one point, also here's something, here's a sad little tale. At some point prior to being with the Riot Act, but somewhere around the Big Mac Theater time, I got hired by a group called the 12th Night Repertory Company, and they did cultural enrichment programs for underprivileged schools. And this was during the Carter administration, where there was lots of funding for the arts. And so that's where the funding came from. And we did this, and in doing so, I got my equity card. I was just brought into the union. It was like, awesome. Everybody has a different stories of how they got into the union. So that's how I got into the union. But I didn't really know anything beyond that. I hadn't gone to college. I hadn't studied musical theater. I hadn't studied acting outside of high school, which really wasn't, it was just mostly just kind of banking on my innate ability. And so, but I saw, hey, they are having an open call interviews for the chorus in Evita that was going to be here at the Schubert Theater. And so I went with my equity card, and I got in line, and I went in to interview, and they were very nice at the interview and said, well, I think what you should do is wait, we're going to have an open call. Just come to the open call and do that. And this was before they weren't even doing the whole, typing people out. They were just bringing you out there on stage.
Lucky.
What's that?
Lucky.
Yeah, lucky. Yeah. However, I had no idea what I was doing. I
Yeah.
didn't know what things meant. I wasn't trained to do this. I just thought, oh, cool, I can go audition. And I went and picked some music that was entirely inappropriate. and I mean, because I just didn't know. It's like, I didn't know what a legitimate ballad was. I just thought, okay, a ballad, but that does, I didn't know. They wanted, the warm, rich, If I Loved You from Carousel. They wanted that kind of thing. And I went out there, and the song was Suicide is Painless. I don't know if you know that. And this was, yeah. And this was before the union had the rule that you had to let people sing their 16 bars if they had prepared 16 bars.
Oh boy.
So even though, yes, there was no typing out, I think I got 6 words out in the casting. Thank you. And I felt so humiliated and so discouraged. I think that really stuck with me way longer than I really realized it. So I think that also, it was like I was much safer working with this wonderful group of people that were funny on stage. We were also very funny off stage. People loved having us at their parties.
Yeah, you had a good camaraderie.
Yeah, and we had and we knew each other, and we had timing, and we had chemistry and stuff like that. So when that started not working so well, because everybody was getting older, and it was like when I was touring the colleges, I had a child on the way, and I didn't. It was like, if that had happened 6 years earlier, it would have been great. I could have toured for 6 years, but I had a kid coming. I didn't want to do that, and I don't think a career in comedy was really what I had envisioned for myself. It was just something that was in front of me. So that's roughly when there was a little detour screenwriting there, but that was roughly when I decided, okay, I want to be an actor, whether that's comedy or drama or whatever it is. I want to get out there.
Well, you talked about innate ability, and I feel like you kind of threw that off, but I think innate ability is the thing I admire and cherish about you as a performer. Like that you have this innate ability to just be the roles that you're cast in. Like I have yet to find a single role, and you have many. Your credit, I mean, you've been Lincoln Lawyer, Fantasy Island, The Rookie, Lethal Weapon, Station 19. I mean, they're all over the place, from drama to comedy, whatever. But every role that you're booked at, I'm like, yeah, of course, he's perfect for it. And you nail it. You just have this way of becoming that I love.
Thank you. I feel as though, I mean, I'm not saying this trying to be with false humility. I also think I end up booking the roles that are right for me.
For sure.
And I'm not saying, obviously, I didn't book all the roles that I thought were right for me, but
well, we never do. But you do have this specialness, this like instant, almost iconic look that, like, when you walk in with your confidence, I go, yes, you do. Wow. You have that.
That's nice. That's nice to hear.
And it's one asshole's opinion, but I feel like I make good decisions, when it comes to casting. Do you think which one came first? Like, obviously your ability to cast. I mean, you spent forever on show like Jack Ryan and Judging Amy and The Guardian. I mean, was it your ability to act that helped you cast, or was it the insight from being an associate that helped you book roles? Were they kind of hand in hand? Kind of hard to say.
That's a very difficult thing to answer, because they do kind of go hand in hand. first of all, I think I always people when I was I did make a living as a production assistant doing mostly commercials back in the 80s while I was also doing the comedy, because comedy wasn't paying the bills, so I was doing that. And I was often told, by more than one person, especially whenever I would help the art department, it's like, oh, you've got the sensibility of an art director, so I have this kind of sense of composition and how things should look or sound or feel. And so, I mean, I never really developed it, but I did seem to have it. I used to go to auditions back in the 80s. I remember a couple of times. There was one audition, and people might think this is self-defeating, and I just do not agree. I was at this audition, and I was supposed to be, it was a funny audition. I was supposed to have this Russian accent and talk about, everyone was going to eat at Bennigan's, and so it was really fun. But I'm sitting there and I'm looking around. I see this one guy over there, and I said to myself, if I was casting this, if he's any good, I'd cast him because of the look, not because I had any doubt about myself. I had a really fun time, and and I was one of the choices, but it went to him. So I was right. It's like, and there are times when I would be going out for the role of a dad, and I'd see other guys. I'm sorry, I just that guy looks more like the kind of dad I think that I would be looking for. I can't think that's what they were looking for. So anyway, back in the 90s, I was trying to go at an actor, but I wasn't getting any work. Very, very few and far between. And then by the end of the 90s, there was this little voice inside of me that said, please don't make me do this anymore. And I had been to some casting workshops, those very controversial casting workshops I had attended.
Yes, of course.
I had attended those as an actor, and I found myself very drawn to the casting, professionals that were the guests. I remember one in particular, Robert Ulrich. I just thought he was like the most amazing guy, and it seemed like this guy. I would love to have him over for dinner or something.
Yeah, so approachable.
And so I remember thinking, well, maybe that's what well, of course, the joke is, maybe I was drawn to them because they were only the only person in the room that actually had a job. So that's attractive.
Fair.
So yeah. So anyway, it was around 1999, I think it was, in the middle of the year. I decided to send a letter to the 3 casting offices in town that I felt certain would remember who I was, and a letter with a stamp, a letter to the offices. And I worked for a day at Ulrich Dawson, but then I got a call from Junie Lowry Johnson and Libby Goldstein, and they wanted me. I was offering 3 days a week as an unpaid intern because I had enough savings to be able to do that.
Perfect.
And they said, well, they wanted me 5 days a week, but they could pay me a little bit. And what they were offering to pay me was just enough to cover the childcare that I would need for the days that my boys were with me. So I could hire somebody to pick them up from school and bring them home until I got home. So I did that. And I did that for, 9 years.
Wow.
Almost 10 years. But for about 9 of those 10 years, I truthfully did not miss acting at all. I loved it.
So it was a legitimate hiatus.
Yeah. But it was also really fun because I had this background as an actor, I ended up being the reader in the room with
Awesome.
people. And I got to read with all these wonderful actors, any of the actors that you see on TV shows, but they're not so big that they don't have to come in and read.
Right. Right.
But there are people that I'd seen like, oh my gosh, and people were very complimentary. They were very. I had one guy. He stopped. We started reading, and he stopped because I want to start over again, and we did it. And afterwards, he told me I had to start over again because I wasn't expecting you to be so good. Wasn't expecting to get something from you.
Yeah, he could relax
in the read. It's like so.
Yeah.
So I mean, that was always there, but I really didn't miss it. And people would say, "Hey, isn't that hard? I mean, don't you see a role you're casting and you know that you would be right for it?" No, somehow I managed to. My brain just created a Chinese wall.
Yeah. I feel
And
like you have to be in a frame of mind too. Like when that inner voice tells you, I need a break from
yeah,
acting,
yeah,
you shut it down. And
yeah,
it's not like, oh, I feel like I'm casting people in roles that I would be booking. It's like, this is great. I'm fitting the pieces together to make this, to escalate this show. I like to make it
right.
shine, you know?
I'm doing my job. I'm doing the
Yeah.
job
Yeah.
as required. And also, since I had hardly ever gotten any work, it wasn't like I thought, oh, I should be playing this role. You know,
Well, their loss.
yeah, right, right.
I do wonder, had you, you know, I got in 2005 is when I came from New York to LA.
Mhm,
And if
mhm.
I had if I had written letters with stamps, I think they would have found their way into many a waste paper basket, maybe even by an associate like yourself, to be honest.
Could be, could be. But yeah, but by 2005, things were a little different. Things were starting
Yeah.
to go digital by 2005. So,
Yeah.
but there was still some crossover. I can tell you, when I was an assistant before, and even as an associate, uh, a lot. I know there were casting directors that would say, "Yeah, you know, postcards, yeah, they're okay." And then nowadays they don't really get. There's where did we send
Right.
them? We don't even know
Right.
where to send them. But then, because I was the associate, I was not the casting director. I loved getting mail that was directed specifically to me. I
Yeah.
would look at everything. You know, it was an ego boost. It's like, oh, they, you know, this
Sure.
they sent this to me. You know,
Well, it's an ego boost, and I don't know about you, but I find a little excitement in making people's dreams come true and, like, seeing their journey over the course of the years, you know, like, when you finally book them on something, doesn't it feel like, "Ah, yeah, I knew
it
it."
was, that you brought up something really wonderful. That is absolutely true. I would, because now I'm on the other side of these controversial workshops. My boss would say, "Hey, I need you out there looking at the workshops because we need really good co-stars. We need people that will
Yeah.
still take these smaller roles." I mean, there are times when we would need, you know, a man in his 60s who has the gravitas of a CEO of a multinational corporation, but the
Mm,
actor will still come and do three lines.
right.
Most actors that have that kind of presence and that are at that age, they've moved on. They've either quit the business or they're doing, you know, guest stars in series regular
Right.
roles. So
So you're always fishing for new faces, new talent, new
yes.
approaches. Yeah.
So the result of that was I got very popular because I was very good about bringing people in,
Mm,
and so my workshops were always full, and I brought people in, and very often they didn't have agents, which was not a problem. It's because they came in because I knew them, I had their headship, we
good for
called them in,
them.
and if they booked the job and they didn't have an agent, I got to call them and tell them that they had.
That's so fun.
Yeah, I mean, and it was wonderful. Like you said, making people's dreams come true because people get so excited. Because otherwise, you know,
Yeah.
it's the agent that gets to tell them, and you know,
Right, you never get the
so
reward, the energy.
it was really a lovely part of the job. Really
Oh,
was.
that's awesome. I've in the little bit of work that you've been generous to do with me when I had self-tapes during the middle of pandemic in
Mhm.
my tiny little kitchen, I find you to be a very generous actor because you know all the different aspects. You know behind the camera, you know in front of the camera, you know the casting associate, you kinda know what's going on. You're very giving and supportive without judgment. Like, you're
Oh,
very
I'm glad to hear you think
encouraging.
so. Yeah, I'm
Yeah, the
glad.
trust is there from the beginning, and I find that
Aw,
and maybe it only works for someone who thinks and feels and receives the way that I do, but when the person I'm working with trusts me from the start, I feel like I can do anything.
right. Yeah.
You know? That's why I love
Mhm.
a good reader.
Well,
Love it.
yeah. Doesn't everybody? Yeah.
Yeah, I aspire to be a great reader. That's the one reason why I love when people call me and ask me to do their scripts or their Zooms or whatever. I like being that person because I get it. I understand you want to be in the environment. And it only becomes exponentially harder to feel that way when you're on a camera in a self tape separate from the energy of the casting person that's receiving it. So,
Right. That's an art unto itself. I mean, I think
mhm,
people used to say, and they still do, but I mean, back in the day, saying, you know, the art of auditioning is different than the art of doing the job.
performing. Yeah.
And it is, they're related, there's crossover, but they're different. And I'm going to say the art of auditioning in the room is a separate art from self-taping.
Oh, God, so much. I'll be
And
honest. I hate self tapes. I love energy.
oh, this is a great conversation to have because I love self-taping.
Oh,
And
what?
I'm going to tell you, and this is not for everybody, but my booking rate went sky high once I was able to, once I
What?
had that control. you know. And also, I'll be honest, I still think in the room, nerves could often get the better of me. And I
Gotcha.
don't, and I can,
Fair.
you know, and I can pick, and yeah, I can do multiple takes, yes, and I know you can't do that when you're in the room with the casting
Right.
people, and but I have never, and people say, oh, but if you'd have to do that, then what's it going to be like when you get on the set? Never had a problem on set.
Well, that's you.
I know, but I'm saying,
Yeah.
no. I'm saying everybody's different. I have
Yeah.
other friends that, oh my God, I hate self-taping, just like you. I hate it. I love it. To me, it's like
Well,
I'm 12 years old and I'm playing with my movie camera in my bedroom again.
I love that when it's a pet project. I think I need the high stakes. I think I need to feel nervous and afraid and out of my comfort zone to perform and in an environment that I don't take for granted, like my house that I
That
see
sounds,
every
yeah.
day.
Yeah. No, my coach, one of my coaches calls that the tautness that's in the room.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
like,
that's a good
people, and a
assessment.
lot of people really thrive on that. It's just something, it's just,
Yeah.
anyway, but you know,
Not to mention, on a couple of occasions, I have cast people who gave amazing self tapes and then on set completely laid an egg. And when we got to talking about it, they had done like 100 takes. And I'm
yeah,
like, well, you don't get 100 takes on a set. You get
yeah,
maybe two if the director's generous
yeah.
anymore for a co-star or guest star, you know.
That's a shame. So I guess
Yeah.
I've been fortunate to never have that happen.
No, you're just good.
Thanks.
You're just,
Well,
you're just good at
well,
it.
maybe. Oh, yeah. There is something, an experience I had. Now, like I said, I missed acting after 9 years, and I went back to it around 2009, and I started doing it again. Had
Mm.
some moderate success for the next year or so, but then it died down again. And around 2016, I was, I needed money, and
Mm.
I was bored, and I happened to hear that April Webster was looking for an
Oh,
associate.
April.
Yeah. Uh, for the Tom Clancy's Jack Ryan for Amazon.
Wow.
And so I went to work with her, and she was lovely. And she also was very, she was very honest. She said, well, I know that you're an actor. How are you going to be able to do this without feeling this like resentment toward actors? I said, no. And I said, no,
Fair question.
it's a fair question. And it was terrific. She was terrific. And she was very supportive. I occasionally had an audition while I was with her.
Oh, nice.
There was one time, at least I remember, where she came into the room with and helped me put myself on tape because I couldn't get to the audition.
Beautiful.
But in 2018, we were doing the second season, and all of the show was shooting. All the locations were either in Colombia or in London or in Washington, D.C. And that was the second season. And then all of the interiors were shot on stages in New York. So we now had to find these roles that were supposed, like we needed a tough guy receptionist for a criminal lawyer in Venezuela.
Mm,
We needed to find this guy in New York who could speak Spanish fluently with a Colombian or Venezuelan accent, because we were trying
very
to be very
specific.
careful
Yeah.
about the accents. So we needed him. And then we needed a couple of people that were playing customs agents in Heathrow. So we were looking for all these small parts in New York. We didn't have anybody casting in New York. We didn't have the budget to fly us out to New York. We didn't know any smaller agencies in New York. We only had relationships with the bi-coastal agencies, the big ones.
Right.
So we put out breakdowns for all these roles and got all these submissions and went through them very carefully, looking at the types and looking at what they've gone on the resume and looking if they had any kind of film and see, well, they might be able to do this. And so then we put out self-tape requests.
Hmm.
And it was then, and this is 2018, it was then that I realized, holy cow, I can see like 50 people in a couple of hours, as opposed to the 12 that I might, because in between,
Yeah.
taking phone calls. And the percentage of people that weren't that great was higher,
Right.
but I was able to see so many more people, and so many more people were able to get these opportunities.
Amazing.
And that's what I felt happened for me in 2020 during the pandemic. I felt like I got through the doors of many offices I'd never been able to get into before.
Yeah, I feel like that was the one, if there is a silver lining to
Mhm.
what happened in 2020, 2021, it would be that the world got smaller. We were able to connect with people all over the world,
Yeah,
everywhere. I mean,
yeah.
there were a lot of the scouting happened on social media platforms. For one
Oh,
of the movies here for Disney,
makes sense.
they found extraordinary talent on Instagram. I mean, it's just
Yeah,
amazing how much talent is out there. They
yeah.
might not be trained, but that's something that can be acquired with time if they're passionate about it and commit to it. But
Sure.
wow,
Oh, yeah.
what a crazy time being
I know.
locked
Yeah,
down
yeah. So
was. And then in the heart of pandemic, we wind up in this theater company that can't put on any shows. you know?
yes, there was that.
What
Yeah.
were we all doing? I feel like the one show, I think we were cutting interviews, I think, for one show that I don't think hasn't performed, I don't think.
They actually,
Amazing.
yeah, you and I were, they were doing a play and then everything shut down. They actually did do that play, I think around 2022.
Oh, great.
They brought it back, but they never asked me to come and do their video, whatever it is, the promo
They're
reel.
lost, Chuck McCollum.
Oh,
They're lost.
it was volunteer work anyway, so I was
I
not
know.
upset about it at all.
But it was done well when you did it.
Thank
I
you.
did enjoy some of the reads that we did, like, the Summer Playwrights Festival that was
Mhm.
broadcast online was enjoyable, like, really enjoyable.
Yeah,
The one
good
play in
stuff.
particular that I got to be a part of was extraordinary, and yeah, I was really digging that, like, "Oh, here's an opportunity for people who can't get to a theater for
Yeah,
whatever reason,
it's true. That was
to
cool.
appreciate it." So kudos
Yeah,
to them.
yeah, that was really
We're
cool.
we're still growing and reinventing from that damn pandemic.
Yeah, and I had fun directing one of those. And
Yeah.
actually, it was the Summer Playwrights Festival, if I'm not mistaken, where you and I met. It was
Yes.
one of the plays in the festival. Yeah,
Yeah.
so that was
That was
always
enjoyable.
that was at the Road Theater in North Hollywood.
The Road Theater, which
Mhm.
now has one location, not two. Everything's
Right, but it's a
changing.
lovely location. It's a lovely theater on Magnolia.
It is,
Beautiful.
it's
Yeah.
beautiful.
Mhm.
Good for them. I noticed a lot of the theaters that are around, the little black box theaters that I've always been a part of there, some of them didn't make it. Some of them aren't there anymore. Like, I know the Rose Theater is no longer there, which is
Oh, just down the
wild.
street. Mhm.
Yeah, there's a
Yeah.
few of them that just couldn't thrive. Listen, the arts and entertainment require money. We require grants and loans and
Yeah.
support, and,
Yeah.
when no one's working, it's hard to come up
Yeah.
with that stuff.
Right. And
Wild.
so, yeah, I have to admit, I'm not as well connected in the theater community
Mm.
as many, and I'm sure than you were when you were here. But there is still some really good stuff going on. The stuff at the Matrix. I saw something recently that was quite good.
Nice. Where's
Uh,
The Matrix? I don't know that one.
it's on Melrose in West Hollywood, and
Fun.
it's those, they're going to hate me because actually it's the company that works there is not called the Matrix, so it's like I can't.
Got you.
Sorry, guys.
Listen, there's only so much when you get to be an adult of a certain age, some
Yeah,
files have to dump information
yeah,
for new stuff to
we
come in.
we got to purge. But
Yeah.
anyway, so yeah, it's right there in West Hollywood. It's like a block or two, well, probably more than 2 blocks, but a few blocks east of Fairfax.
Ooh, what a great location. Maybe
Oh
I
yeah,
have been there. I don't know what it
terrific.
was called, but yeah. I
Yeah,
tried to make it. When my friends were performing, I tried to make it, and, I waited too long to get reintegrated into theater. That's the one thing that I miss tremendously from Broadway. I really miss theater. I really when I got involved with The Road, I was excited to find a family of weirdos like me that
mhm,
could collaborate on things and
yeah.
be in that space and develop characters, and I still want that. Not a lot of it in Atlanta. I see that there are theaters here, and I do see that there is theater work.
Hmm.
It feels, and I don't know why, maybe it's me and where I'm at emotionally, but it feels separate from me, like I'm not invited. And the same can be said from what I book out here anymore. So
Hmm.
when I left LA and I came here, damn it, I don't book crap here. It's like I'm starting all over again. Like I have no resume. I there's a few
Hmm.
casting directors who are lovely to me that always pull me in and always have me read. Thank you for that, guys. But I can't seem to book anything really worth getting into, to be
Sure, sure.
honest. It's a very local market here. So that's been not humbling. Humbling isn't the world. Kind of devastating. Like I'm like, wow, I don't belong
Not
here.
humbling, devastating.
Devastating.
Okay,
Yeah, no,
yeah.
I'm being humble because I'm a very humble person. Listen, I don't feel like anybody owes me shit. I have to earn it. But I can't even get to, I don't know where the environment is. It's different than Hollywood. Like the onus is different. The way they go about things is different. The groups are different. I don't know anybody. I still don't know
Right.
anybody. So I'm trying, but yeah, theater is calling me. I need
Aw.
my weirdos. I miss you guys.
Yeah.
And I need to be around people who get weird and funky and write and create and fall on their faces and their costumes fall apart. And hey, isn't this some shit? Look at the, like I
Right.
miss the weirdness of it. It's fun. Oh, if the
I,
audience knew. Well, let me ask you, Mr. McCollum,
yes.
what's on your bucket list still?
I don't know that I have a bucket list. Isn't that sad?
No, it's not sad.
I mean, and I assume you're not just talking professionally.
No, whatever.
No,
Yeah,
yeah,
what's
bucket
exciting?
list. I would like to ski in Zermatt, Switzerland.
Oof.
And I'm not an avid skier. It just sounds like something to be awesome to do. I mean, I can ski, but I'm not an avid skier. But I like to,
Have you looked up the medical situation in Switzerland to make sure that you're going to be
yeah.
okay?
I mean, it's not something I have planned. It's just something that every so often I go,
Cool.
in Zermatt because it's like, oh, because it's so beautiful, and the Matterhorn is there in
Yeah.
Zermatt. So that it's like, so that would be a very cool thing to have on the horizon, while you're skiing. I want to go back to Ireland at some point because I visited there once and I just fell in love with, especially when I was in. We bicycled around Inishmore and off the coast of Galway, and it just,
Oh, wow.
and the people were amazing. The people there were just amazing, and
I
so
keep hearing this.
yeah. At some point, it's like, I don't know when this has happened, but that part of me, like, I want to live somewhere that's more, I guess the word is rural. At some point, I would like to live in the mountains.
You want to disappear?
No, not necessarily.
Listen,
You know what I mean? I mean,
let's swap
as far as I
places for a
understand,
bit.
Harrison Ford lives in the mountains. It's like, you know what I mean? It's like, I'd like to have that kind of thing. Or, well, I can go there for a while. That's
Oh no, you're another one of my friends where I'm gonna have to get a carrier pigeon to even like find you. Like send this message to my friend.
So far, there's no danger of that. So
No, not at all.
yeah.
Oh my
But
gosh, that sounds amazing.
every time I am in some place like that, there's something that feels like it's calling to me.
Home. It feels home. Like,
Yeah, and it always has. Even when I went to Colorado, like I said, in Telluride, when we did the theater company thing in Telluride for the summer of '76, it was awesome. I mean, it was just amazing there.
I get
But
it.
what I've always wanted to do though with my life as actor was like, well, that's kind of here, or in New York, or in Chicago.
Sure.
Changing now to a
Yeah.
degree, but we're trying to bring it back. We're trying to get these tax
Well,
incentives in
but
place.
let me ask you, because I mean, you're seeing it now too. This last strike, I think we both knew this strike was going to knock us on our asses. Things were changing exponentially. The tech was undeniable. AI was already implemented. We're seeing it's like this like fairy dust spread all over the world now. You can do film in Oklahoma and here in Georgia and Idaho, and like it's literally everywhere. But is it possible to have a career? Like what you'd have to live like a gypsy. You can't pick any one of those locations to have the careers that we've been having.
Right.
So bringing it back to the States, sure. But I feel like there's this massive surge that's inevitable right now for independent filmmaking to make our own and to find our own tribe to filmmake with. Do you have any desire, or have you been writing or a desire to direct or to helm a film of your own?
I have never had the strong enough desire to take action.
That's a lot.
Can I put it that way?
Same.
I mean, yeah, it's like, oh yeah, I mean,
so hard.
Like, that would be cool.
Yeah.
I guess I'm far more comfortable, working on someone else's story.
Yeah, same.
But that could always change. that's one never knows what is going to be manifested in the future.
True
So,
that,
you know,
as we're finding out right now.
I never felt like I had a story that was bubbling up in me enough for it to, you know, spill out on a page.
Fair.
Or, you know, that kind
So
of
I
thing.
take for granted, I'm stuck in my own personal hell because as a creative, I download ideas like 24/7. I never am without an idea for something. What
Mhm.
I don't have is that thing that turns that into a screenplay.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
is a
I mean,
separate skill set. So,
that sums it up pretty well.
Jesus.
Sums it pretty
But it's
well.
hard to explain because, like, I've got my friends are like, "Well, learn." I'm like, "Don't you think I've been trying to? I
Yeah,
am trying.
yeah, and
It's not
I
happening."
don't know that it's a lack of skill. I think whether it's a, like I said, if it hasn't bubbled up enough, it may be
Oh, no, it's like friggin' bubbling everywhere. I just
okay.
can't put
Okay,
it in the
so
format of a screenplay. I've got 2 scripts. I had to implement, an actual writer to take everything out of my head, which, as you know, is packed, like, it's overpacked, it's a stuffed suitcase, and put it on a page, put it on pages so that someone could read it. So I've got
right.
2, but there's, like, 20 more that I would love to do. I just need someone who knows how to take everything with a
Uh,
dictaphone or whatever and 20, 30 coffees a week and, like, boom, put it on a
yeah,
page.
I
Then I can
understand.
hire you.
Yeah, there we go. Yes, well,
Yeah.
then I will pray that that person enters your life.
Yes.
So
Damn
yes,
it. Where
so
are you,
yeah,
writer?
yeah, right.
And maybe somebody in marketing who knows how to do all that crap too, because I don't love tech. I don't love it.
But I mean, I have this with a lot of things. I have, you know, I mean, I have melodies in my, because I do write songs. And I have melodies in my head. I
Yes.
have melodies in my head that, and even some that have lyrics that I have not finished, and they've been floating around for years. You
So
know, and I
what's it
have
gonna
melodies
take
I
to
don't know
be
what to
like,
do with. What's that?
when are you gonna go get some paper and sit at the piano and start
Oh,
dabbling it down?
starting's not a problem.
Oh, okay. All right. All right.
Starting,
Do do you
no.
just have, like, a dictaphone you can sing it into and then boom, at least it exists and it's out?
Oh, I do that too. There's a bunch of those. I mean, I will find myself in the car and I think of this melody and I pick up my phone and I sing the melody. But what to do with it at that point,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So it's the same to me. It's the same kind of thing. I don't know what gets in the way. I think part of it is that thing. It's like, Chuck, just freaking finish it. Just finish it. I mean, it's like get over yourself and don't be so precious. Finish it something. Put something. You know, you
Don't
can
be so
always change it
precious.
later
Yeah.
if you want. And that whole thing that Sondheim, from Sunday in the Park is like, but stop worrying if your work is good. No, I can't remember. It's just essentially
I
saying,
know the
don't worry
one.
about whether or not the work is good. That's
Yeah.
other people's decision to make,
Right, right,
and
right.
they
Oh,
always do
jeez.
make that decision. You
Yes,
know.
yeah.
So, and yet, but that self criticism that, oh, what if it's not brilliant? But what
What
if
if
it's not
it's not
brilliant?
perfect?
Yeah. And then there's yeah, and it really pissed me off when somebody said, perfectionism is in and of itself a sort of imperfection. It's like,
I don't need this shit.
yeah,
I
right.
don't need
Yeah,
You think I don't know what I am?
yeah, yeah. So there's that.
Oh my
Mhm.
god. Yeah, I feel you. It never a shortage of ideas, just a shortage of the ability to get them organized into a thing so someone else can have them. And then, even with the 2 that I have, there's the trust issues of, like, letting too many eyes on it. And,
Sure.
I've got this one project, which I actually do have a role for you, sir. And um, in having eyes on it, at the end of the day, and I know this, the only person who really can tell the story and direct it is the person who firsthand witnessed a lot of
Oh,
it.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
do I want to direct? I
I
don't
get
know.
it.
I think I do. I know it's hard. I just
Yeah, I
know
mean,
it's really
that's not a
hard.
skill set that I have when it comes to directing film. That
Yeah.
would require from more study. I do all right with stage
Yeah.
work, but with
Stage
film,
different.
yeah, yeah, that much is true.
How do I explain that better though? Like, so what are in your words, because you do them both as well, what are the nuances, the difference in putting something on television or film as opposed to stage?
I mean, because I don't have the skill sets, I don't think I can come up with something that's all that revelationary. But I would say, first of all, that stage, is more of a literary medium, but it's also a visual medium. But it's broad. It's like the entire body,
Mm.
is the storyteller. Um,
Oh, I love
and I
that.
think with the camera, I can't remember where I've heard recently they say that, I think it was Sir Ben Kingsley that said something akin to the camera is allergic to acting, and it is just something that it's all here and it's all here.
Yeah, very
And
small.
yeah, I mean, obviously there's wide shots where it's not all that, but mostly it's all here. And but I think the acting is still the same. It's just there's a slight, and I think slighter than people think, difference in physical technique
Mm.
that an actor, an actor has more room on stage,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
and they say to keep things small on the screen, but I think
Right.
even then you can't spend the time playing in front of the camera. You can't spend it thinking about all that technical stuff. You have.
It took me the first, I think, 3 years of working in Hollywood to tone it down because there's nobody in the back row anymore for TV and
Mhm.
film to make it more inside, more internalized,
Oh,
and more.
I still struggle with that.
Yeah.
Even, I mean, gosh, I actually had a live audition a few weeks ago where it was by a Zoom, but it was a live
Right.
audition,
Yeah.
and I was using my external camera, and I have the ability to record myself doing it. So I'm not recording the Zoom. I'm recording myself
Right.
externally, and I watched it back, and I hated it.
You're like, I'm too big.
Yeah, no, yeah, I hated it. And
Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah.
and that's one of those things where, uh, if it had been a self tape, and I could have done a self tape. I chose to
Sure.
do it live because it was the scene itself was a video conference.
Oh, well,
So
yeah.
so
Yeah.
it made perfect sense to do it that
Yeah. I
way.
would have done the same.
But but I thought to myself, yeah, I would have done a few more takes, and
Ugh,
I would have brought it in a little
a
bit,
little smaller.
Yeah, but like so I still have that playing to the back row that I learned when I was 6 years old.
Right? The cheapskates that deserve the performance.
Yeah.
So that's a bit of a mind fuck too, because now you're in your own home with a camera very close to your
Mhm.
face, which acts as the camera that you would be working with, but there's room and you're in your own home and it's very familiar and your attention
Right.
becomes bigger in
Right.
that space because
Yes,
you own
that's
it.
that's also true. I mean, I think part of it was had nothing to do with that, or very little to do with that. I think part of it was when I logged on with the casting director, and she said something about. She goes, "Do you have any questions?" I said, "No, I'm trying to think," and I can't remember what she said, but she said something about the comedy in the scene. And even though when I first absorbed the conversation, I said, "Oh, this is fun." There were some fun moments, banter between the characters,
Mm,
but I didn't think of it in terms of comedy. I just thought of it in terms of I'm telling the story. This is the story I'm telling. The
yeah.
minute she said implied that this was supposed to be comedy, I think something in my brain took over and decided to plan rather than prepare.
Ugh,
Decided to I've got to make this funny rather than just no. You've already got this.
yeah,
Because it will be funny because of the truth.
because it's you.
Yeah, because of the truth of the
Yeah,
circumstance
it's written that
and
way.
the pursuit of the outcome that I desire. So yeah, so I think I allowed that word to
I
get in my
I
head,
100% get you.
and this is why I don't
Man.
like being in the room.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. Honestly, it's
You
fair.
know, but
I had a moment, I was always funny. I'm gonna own it. I was freaking funny. If no one ever looked at my face, they would laugh at my jokes. So I had a moment with Second City way back before Hollywood. I really wanted to do like whose line is it anyway? That was my jam. I was
awesome,
fast that way. I love that
so
show.
fun.
There was a fellow
Mhm.
Clevelander on the show. Yeah.
Oh, who's the fellow Clevelander?
At the time, it was Drew Carey was on the show for a long time.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
how fun would it be?
Yeah.
Anyway, I was basically told I wasn't funny, and I was like, ouch. I'm like, I thought I would, you guys laughed at everything. I was like, oh, no. It's not that you're not funny. It's that you're not funny. No one's going to laugh at you. No one's going to feel sorry for you. No one's going to see you as the unfortunate person who's missed out on anything. I was too put together is what they were trying to say. And I'm like, God darn it. There's truth to that. There's some truth to that at the time.
Yeah, but I would never tell somebody that. I just would never tell anybody that.
Well, I mean, live stage is different. I come from Broadway. They walk down the block and they're like too short, too fat, redhead, freckles.
Yeah.
And you know.
And that's what I hate. That's what I hate about
Yeah. But it was a gift because I realized, like, when I do comedy, I'm not the comedian. I'm the straight man. I'm the one that just says the thing in the middle, and it's funny because it exists in this other world where other people are funny. So it was a gift to me to know where I fit into comedy. Like, and I still love comedy, but yeah, that was interesting to me.
No, it is. I mean, I do remember that even just being in school. I remember I very often would get cast as the straight man because I was able to do that and do it. And I was able to get laughs as a straight man, but I still was like, yeah, but I want, you know, I want to be Mr. Applegate in Damn Yankees. I don't, you know, I want.
I get it.
Yeah, that kind of. So yeah,
it's especially hard if you're self-effacing and you like to make fun of yourself. Like I like to be the clown, so they're like, yeah. Don't do that.
And I grew up watching Dick Van Dyke.
Yeah, all the great shows. Oh.
And he was tall and handsome and so funny, and
like my friend Chuck McCollum. Just like that.
I mean, that was I remember people telling me when I was in my 20s and I was doing a lot of physical comedy that I reminded them of him. Ooh. And I thought, oh, yeah, I'm probably maybe a little too much because that's where I got it all. That was who I was watching when I was a child.
I don't know. I grew up on Lawrence Welk shows and I'm fine.
Yeah, okay. Fair enough. Fair enough. Yes.
I don't own a banana jumpsuit with bell bottoms.
I mean, but are you? Are you fine?
I don't know. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah.
I live in Georgia.
We'll assume so for now.
For now. All right, I'm gonna have fun with you for a minute.
Oh, as opposed to what we've been doing.
No, that's been enjoyable as hell.
Yeah,
I want to break you out of prepared responses and things that you're comfortable with, and maybe throw Mickey your way. Oh. These are kind of rapid fire. Just pick one, okay? And one or the others. Early bird or night owl?
Night owl.
Concert or museum?
Concert.
Wow, you didn't even hesitate. That was a hard one for me. Okay, book or movie?
Movies.
Do you read books?
I do.
Hitchhiker's Guide?
But I watch more movies. Yeah, but I mean that. But 40 years ago, I read that. Sure.
So good. Yeah.
Thanks for the pitch.
Okay. Pen or keyboard? Like tech or tactile, like writing?
That's a hard one.
Oh no, we've evolved.
I mean, I would probably say keyboard, but just based on what I spend more time doing.
Okay, more practically.
I don't know that it's a preference. It's just that, yeah.
Comedy or drama?
That's a rough one.
I know, they're both fun.
That's a rough one because it also depends on what you're talking about, watching or being in. I would say drama.
More as an actor, there's so much more in drama to work with. So yeah, I think I'm more
I don't know that's true for me, but I do know that, like I said, going back to the earlier conversation, comedy, just using the word just feels like there's pressure.
Oh, yeah, fair.
And
I want to pick one that's not in your comfort zone, maybe. Here's a dumb one. A card game or a board game?
Board game.
Really? Do you have a favorite one that you used to play as a kid?
No.
That's funny.
I mean, but whenever I play them, it's like card games. Yeah, those are fun. But my son, one of my sons, is really big on board games, and we used to do it a lot when he was small. And I always enjoyed our time doing that. And
Oh, well,
we
yeah.
did some of the basic ones, in Trivial Pursuit, and we had, but we did a couple of things that were like, Sherlock Holmes mysteries, stuff like that. So it
Ooh,
was a little
yeah.
more, there was a little more to it than just, Candyland.
That's where I get it. So I don't really like games, like board games and stuff. I'd be more inclined to do, like Pictionary, something more interactive, more in depth, or Cards Against Humanity, where there's
but is that a
something.
card game? But it's not a card game or a board game. So
Yeah,
you didn't give me that as a choice.
Because it wasn't a choice.
No, it wasn't.
You don't get the same choice as
but
I
I
do.
think if that were added in there, I would say the interactive games,
Yeah.
charades, Pictionary,
Personality stuff.
yeah, that kind of thing.
Yeah, less rules and regulations and more like just having fun, to be honest.
Oh, I need rules and regulations.
Do you like guidelines or rules?
Well, if it's a game, there are rules.
Oh my gosh.
Come on, Lisa.
Yes.
But it's just a game. But games have rules.
Yes. No, I'm not gonna negate you. I agree.
Okay.
Like,
No,
rules and laws are there for a reason.
I'm remembering conversations from my past. Okay. Reliving.
Sorry, I don't mean to trigger you. I love you. I'm sorry. Oh my God.
I like to think I can loosen up and have fun. I like to think that.
Well, you do with me. We've always had a great rapport. Listen, the people that I love are the people I love for a reason. Just good people. None of you have all that much in common, from all different backgrounds, all different beliefs. I love that. I absolutely love that. I'm so lucky. And even in just starting the podcast, just knowing so many great people who are willing to drop everything for an hour and spend it with me.
Oh, well, that's great. Thank you.
So thank you for that. Sorry, Justin, missed out again. There is a co-host. He'll be back eventually. He's working.
Sorry, I missed him.
Yeah, he's making money for a living.
Nice.
Whatever. But and having said that, we're already creeping up on an hour, and I don't want to let you go. Is there anything that you want to promote or offer, or is there a way people can follow you or stay in touch with you? As you
follow me on
coming in.
Insta, I think. I mean, if you want to, but I'm not very interesting. I just don't do that much. Once in a while, and I get it. I think it's Chucky, CHUCK MCLA.
That sounds right to me.
Is my Insta. Almost never on Facebook, so don't worry about that.
Yeah, same.
And I have nothing to promote except for, gosh, let's try to hold it together.
Yeah.
Let's all try to hold it together.
Globally.
Yeah.
As much as you want to make that mean. Yes, please.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I subscribe to that.
That's it.
Chuck, I love you to tears. Thank you so much for being here. Chuck McCollum, actor, screenwriter, potentially director in the future, potentially actor in one of my projects in the future. He's available, ladies and gentlemen, casting directors out there who might be watching. Thank you, guys. This was episode 13. We got a 14th coming up next week on Thursday. More awesome talent, and I can't wait. For now, we bid you adieu. Mwah. Thank you so much.